Hello everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Introduction to Computer Applications at Ozarka College. Today what I'm going to do is give you just a little bit of feedback on the Excel Module 3 activities that I graded earlier this week, and also the Excel production exam that I finished grading this morning. And then I'm going to tell you what we've got coming up due next week for PowerPoint, Module 1. Alright? So like I said, I did finish grading the Excel Module 3 activities earlier this week. Most of you did well on those. If I did have to count some points off, I was pretty specific on the grading comment. So if you're wondering why you missed some points on that, just read the grading comments and let me know if you have any questions. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. But like I said, overall, most of you did very well on those Module 3 activities. So keep up the good work on that. On the Excel production exam that I finished grading this morning, of course it was due last night, and I finished grading those this morning. Most of you did extremely well on that. I was very pleased overall. There were some common errors that I want to go over with you on that. That a few of you made that I want to make sure that you know the correct way of doing it so that you're ready for the final exam. By the way, you will have a Excel workbook to complete on the final exam at the end of the semester. So if you missed some things on the production exam for Excel, then you need to make sure you study what you missed so that you're prepared for the Excel portion of the final exam. All right. So again, the most common errors that just a couple of you made were first thing was a couple of you did not enter the specified column titles on 2 lines. Remember, there were a few of your assignments where it had you use the Alt plus Enter technique to enter a multi-line cell for some of the column titles to save some horizontal space in your workbook or in your worksheet. And basically the way you do that, remember, is you type in the first line of text for the column title, then you press Alt-Enter on the keyboard, and that enters a second line in the cell where you can then type the second line of text for that column title. Some of you did not do that. You just entered all the information, all the entire column title on one line, but it asked you to enter a couple of the column titles on 2 lines to save some space in the worksheet. So just make sure that if you didn't do that on the exam, that you study that for the final exam. All right. Another thing I noticed a couple of you did was you typed in the calculated values in the worksheet where you should have typed in a formula or a function. And I noticed some of you did that on the assignments too. And I've explained before that, and I'll explain it again here, the whole purpose of learning how to use Excel, or one of the main reasons for learning Excel, is to make sure that you're able to create calculations in the worksheet in an efficient manner. And the most efficient way of doing it is to insert any kind of calculations that you want to do in the worksheet. You want to insert those as formulas or functions using the techniques that we learned about in the modules. And that way, when you insert the formula or function into the worksheet, instead of just entering the calculated value, what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to easily update the worksheet later on by changing the data in the worksheet, changing the numerical values, and it will automatically recalculate any formulas or functions that you've entered. Whereas if you just enter the calculated value, then that's just going to be a static number that's never going to change, unless you go in and physically change it. Then you're going to have to, you're basically, when you insert the numbers as calculated values instead of entering the formulas or functions as specified, you're basically defeating one of the main purposes of learning Excel and using Excel. And so that's why it's quite a few points taken off when you fail to enter the formulas or functions. And you just enter the calculated value, because it is that important to meeting the objectives in Excel. All right. So just make sure that if you did just enter the calculated value for some of the cells in the worksheet, just make sure that you go back and study that for the final exam, because you'll have some very similar formulas and functions on the final. All right. So, and if you have questions about that, just let me know. All right. Another common mistake I noticed on the exam that, well, a few of you did, was on the worksheet, it wanted you to insert a fixed dollar sign a floating dollar sign instead of a fixed dollar sign on some of the cells of the worksheet that contain numbers. It's like the totals, and usually it'll have you apply the currency style format to the top row of cells, and then the total row at the bottom of the worksheet, and then any other calculated values like average, min, and max at the bottom of the worksheet. And of course, that's what it had you do on the exam. But some of you just clicked on the currency style button instead of going in to the, remember, you have to go into the number dialog box to actually set the currency style with a floating dollar sign. If you just use the currency style button on the toolbar, it's just going to insert a fixed dollar sign, and there'll be space between the dollar sign and the first digit of the number on the left side of the cell. So what it wanted you to do is insert a floating dollar sign so that it removes that space between the first digit of the number and the dollar sign. So, like I said, if you have questions about that, just let me know. There were also a couple of you that had problems with the chart. Remember on the chart that you have to select both the values range and the category range. Remember, the values range is basically the set of numbers that you want to include in the pie chart. And that's basically those numbers that you select for the values version of the worksheet. That's going to basically dictate what size each piece of the pie is in the pie chart. And then the other part of that is the label on each piece of pie, so that we know what in the worksheet we're referring to when we're looking at each piece of the pie on the pie chart. And some of you selected one of the ranges, but you didn't select the other. So remember, you have to select both ranges in order to create the chart the way that it specified. And in order to actually get any kind of meaningful information from the chart, you have to have the correct size of the pieces of the pie. But in addition to that, you also have to know what each piece of the pie represents, what the category or what the label is that pertains to the actual worksheet. All right, so that we know when, for example, that a piece of pie represents 12% of the total, we need to know what that 12% what it pertains to. Is it, if it's like a certain month, we need to know that. If it's a certain company or a certain customer name, we need to know what that label is on the chart so that we can get some meaningful information from it. Otherwise, it's pretty much a useless graph or chart unless we can label everything. Okay? So just, if you have questions about that, as far as how to select both of the necessary ranges for a chart, just let me know, and I'll be glad to help you with that. And that's something else that you'll need to make sure you study for the final exam. All right, so that brings us to what we've got coming up due for our next set of activities. So if we go to the activities page in my Ozarka, right now we're kind of towards the end of week 10 of the semester. And next week is week 11, and that's when our next set of activities is due. So we've got PowerPoint Module 1 activities. You got the assignment 1, 2, and 3, and the objective test all due by Friday of next week, which is Friday, November 3rd. Okay? So PowerPoint is our final program that we're going to learn this semester. We've already learned Microsoft Word, and we just got done learning Excel, and our last one is PowerPoint. PowerPoint, as most of you probably already know, is a presentation graphics program. It allows us to create a set of slides for a presentation, whether it be a in-person presentation or an online presentation, whatever the case may be. It allows us to present information in an organized way, and interesting way for an audience. And so go ahead and be working on PowerPoint Module 1 activities. If we go to the Assignment 1 page for PowerPoint 1, Module 1, you'll notice that I've got instructions here. Just make sure you read through all the instructions carefully. I've explained how to save each of the pictures that you need for the assignment. You'll notice they're listed under additional resources here. And as I've explained in the set of instructions here, instead of opening each one of these, what you want to do is right-click on each one and then click Save, and save each picture to your computer. And then when it tells you to insert that picture on a particular slide, you'll find that picture that you've saved and insert it into the slide in the presentation. Okay, so and it's basically the same process that you learned about for the pictures in Microsoft Word that you downloaded and then inserted into Word documents for Microsoft Word assignments. So it's basically the same process, but just make sure that you're following those instructions. And I've also included demonstration videos here for you. So if you don't know much about PowerPoint, if you haven't used it that much in the past, then you may find it helpful to watch the demonstration videos before you're creating the assignments for PowerPoint Module 1. So in the demonstration videos, I basically take you step by step through the process of creating the presentation and each slide in the presentation that you're doing for assignment 1. And then once you've done assignment 1, you should be able to do assignments 2 and 3 because it'll basically be the same kind of stuff that you learned about and did in assignment 1. You'll basically be doing similar things in modules or in assignments 2 and 3. Okay. All the pictures that you need and the other data files that you need for each assignment are listed under additional resources on each assignment page. On the pictures, when you're inserting the pictures and checking your slides for accuracy before you turn them in, make sure that you size the pictures correctly. Most of the instructions will tell you to size a picture to a particular size, and when it gives you a particular size, make sure that you use the sizing height and width boxes to make sure and verify that you have the correct size for each picture. Also, make sure that you use the smart guides to position the pictures correctly on each slide. So yeah, check all of your slides for accuracy before you submit your assignments. All right. And if you have questions as you're working through PowerPoint Module 1, if you have questions, use this PowerPoint Module 1 help discussion item here under week 11. It's the very last item under week 11. Use that to ask your question, and that way when I answer your question, other students in the class will be able to see that, and it may help other students that had similar questions. Okay, so be working on PowerPoint Module 1, and let me know if you have questions. And I don't have anything else for you for today, so enjoy your weekend and enjoy your next week. And I probably won't talk to you again until the week after next, since our next set of activities isn't due until late next week. Next time I'll talk to you will probably be early the following week. All right, so I will see you then. Thank you.